What's up, everybody? Welcome back to From Boys to Men, the podcast. And as usual, we are excited to have you here with us. And this time, we got a special guest for y'all.
Again.
My boy, Jason Talley. Super excited to have you here with us, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's going to be an awesome conversation. We definitely got something to really get into and shed some light on, and kind of some awareness, experiences, different things. We got a lot of different things to talk about. But as usual, we got to start things off with a little bit of a
story time with Dom.
he will continue to look at you weird when he says
Every time.
for whatever reason.
I'll be honest, it's the only reason I'm here. I'm excited about this.
Well, I hope you laugh. You might laugh, you might not, but it's inspiring. So anyway.
Inspiring. Oh, this was inspiring. He said inspiring.
Yo, what up, good people? You know who it is. Your boy Dom before Nick all day, every day, slow motion. You know what I'm saying? We keep it right, keep it tight. You know what I'm saying?
Oh no, you get a front row seat to this.
Right, keep it tight.
You know what I'm saying? Never lacking, never slacking. You know what
Like,
it is.
comment, subscribe, all that stuff.
Right.
Hey, straight up, you know the IG, you know the Facebook,
Okay.
you know what up. But anyway,
YouTube.
Wow.
YouTube.
Wow.
yeah, I'm on there too. But no,
Please don't
let's
encourage.
see. Quick little story, little inspiration. Something happened a long time ago, back when I was like 18, 19 or whatever. Went out with my girlfriend at the time. We had a good night, whatever. It's late too. It's like 2, 3 in the morning. So I'm like, oh man, I gotta take the car home because I ain't have my car. I'm driving my aunt's car, was really my mama's car, whoever car it was, whatever. You know the Sabre.
Yes, I do remember the Sabre.
You remember the Sabre?
Absolutely.
All right. So anyways,
Absolutely.
I'm about to head to the crib. I'm like, all right.
You remember it.
Absolutely.
Oh, he
You
do.
still Sabre.
He do. So I'm about to head to the crib. I'm like, let me throw some gas in here because I get get in trouble for not putting no gas in the car. I got a little bit of money. I'm working at, I think I was working at Kroger. I think it was at Kroger. So I'm like, I got a little money,
$5.
Oh, that's when he was working at Kroger.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I remember that job.
Felt like I was making money and I really wasn't. I thought I was balling. We had a conversation about that earlier.
Yeah, right.
So I'm like, all right, let me put some gas. And I threw 20 in the tank. I'm sitting there and put the gas.
Put 20 in the tank?
Wow.
I know.
20
right?
back then.
Boy, that's a lot.
I was driving for hours. So
Lucky to
anyways,
get 10 out of me.
That was gas was 50 cents a gallon.
You know?
How big was that tank?
Well, I mean, the Sabre, that's pretty much a
As
Buick.
long as it ain't me coming with the jokes.
it is.
I'm sorry. I
I'm talking
apologize.
about one of the big body
Oh no.
Buicks.
So I put the thing in, let it lock it, let it pump. I'm sitting in the car chilling, and all of a sudden a homeless man walked up to the window. Dude, hey, what's up, man? He going through his whole spew, had a little script. I'm like, nah, man, I ain't even really got it like that. Come on, baby, you know. I said, and I literally put my hand down, right?
Oh.
And my man's jumped back, was like, no, don't shoot me. I was like,
This is getting interesting.
I just run over and I said, bro, I'm not finna do nothing. He literally was like, no, man, I'm just trying to go see my daughter. I get my daughter. She down in Ohio right now. I'm trying to catch the bus. Woo, woo. He going through this whole story. I'm like, and how sometimes you're like, all right, bro, ain't nobody trying to hear your story. But it was some in me
That's true.
It was some in me that was like, it was like, everybody how we got the discernment. Something in me was like, he not lying. It was just something telling me like, he not lying. I'm like, what you need? It was like, anything help? I don't even care. You can give me a quarter, give me $1. He was like, he showed me, he put his ID, his wallet. He was like,
wow.
This is my address. If you want to come find me, if I don't pay you back or nothing. I was like,
wow.
I was like, he was literally like, come find me. I don't care. I just want to get my daughter. I'm looking at like, this dude really serious right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what?
There wasn't nobody else ID?
No, it wasn't. It was his. That was the messed up part.
It's
It was really
always
his.
Chuck.
Always
Not
one.
one. It's always Chuck.
So I'm like, all right. Something in me was like, he really needs some money. I ain't had all I had was one bill in my pocket.
It's $1?
20. So I'm like,
Blow with a 20,
I said,
huh?
here.
My God.
Right when I handed it to him,
$20.
the thing clicked. I was like, cool. He was like, he put the thing out. He didn't look at the money yet. He walked. He stopped. He turned around. Are you sure you want to give me this $20? I'm looking at him like, what do you mean?
Oh, that's when you knew it was real.
That's what it was something like, he was like, you sure you want to give me this 20?
About that.
I was like, yeah, bro, go ahead, take it.
That's,
I'm like, all right. He started crying. I'm like, all right, yeah, okay. Let me pull off before I start crying. I ain't got time. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm at the gas station on the deep west side. Nah, I'm good. Ain't trying to be over there.
First of all, you said deep west side like it's the east side.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You must ain't been to the other side of the west side. So anyways, I pull off, get home. Next morning, ain't nobody going nowhere. I left something in the car. I go in the car, pull the seat forward, thinking I dropped it. Guess what I find?
$20 bill.
$20
That's exactly what I found. I was like,
The Lord was looking out.
Won't he do it?
I said, put it in my pocket.
Hey.
He took his aunt 20.
It probably was Tasha's or my mama's, but
Chuck just couldn't let him have his moment,
Just couldn't let it ride.
He just couldn't let him have his moment.
but you know,
let it ride.
regardless, I found $20. Ain't nobody said it was missing $20. So therefore, guess what $20 it is?
Yours.
Exactly.
Finders keepers.
So
we all
I got
know the rules.
$20. Felt blessed. Blessed man with $20.
You got $20.
Exactly. So I'm gonna tell you right.
Everybody won.
I'm gonna tell you right now, peoples. Sometimes you gotta be a blessing to others, cause you might get it right back, or even more.
Okay.
So that was.
Wow.
I will amend your statement all the time. That's a blessing to others.
Wow.
And that was a story time with Dumb.
See?
It's a good one.
All right.
That was actually
That was a good one.
that was a good one.
So there's one time at band camp,
It's
right?
not the
all
fact
right.
that he
No,
stole
all
from
right.
him.
Okay,
Alright.
so
No.
and that's when we stopped. That was good. I gotta commend you on that one.
Hey, man.
Because usually some of your stories be out there.
Offhand.
Yeah.
No,
Offhand is a
that'd
good
be
one.
left field. Let's
You,
keep.
Jason, you now getting a first hand
Everybody on the best behavior
experience
today.
of this.
It's kind of it's crazy.
Whose car was that?
Whose
Aunt's
car?
car.
Okay, so
Oh, his
and
aunt's car.
and my aunt had passed, but the car got left at the house. My mom was driving. Everybody was driving it,
Uh-huh.
but it really was mine because I was the
So-
main person driving.
Oh, it's your money.
Okay, I'm just
Right.
trying to figure out whose money you gave.
With the 20,
Yeah, because
the 20 I found.
No, the 20 you found belonged to them, but it's just like you gave their money to that man, so you just kept your 20.
That's really what happened.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to figure out, and I apologize.
It was God's. It was God's 20.
Well, here's the thing. It could have came from heaven because your aunt could have left it in the car.
See, that's where we gonna go with. We gonna take it from there. Stop right there. That's where we gonna go with.
Okay,
All right,
yeah, that's
cool.
good. I like that. Cool. I was just trying to bring it full circle. Just fill that out. I like that. That's good.
So there's one thing we don't do, Jason, is
lie.
encourage doubt.
Yeah, you didn't lay out the rules before I got here. I just walked in, so
Yeah, but we all know truthfully it had to be somebody's in the house. But
I'm
you know,
just glad to be here.
if no one said nothing about missing $20, it's my $20.
Then that mean they wasn't missing $20.
Exactly. So,
Or they just didn't know.
either way it goes, still my $20.
Oh, okay.
Either
Just know that your mama's gonna be calling you when she see this episode.
Yep.
Like, let me get that $20.
No.
That's all right. She gonna find $20 in his wallet.
Yikes.
that's conversation.
All right. So
The topic of the day.
that was the story time with Dom, guys. Now we're that was good though.
Congratulations.
For a segue.
So for a segue, wow, we only got to say a bad segue.
I mean, not good or
Just
bad.
us
It's
segue.
just a segue.
Yeah, good job. So I don't even know how to I've been thinking of. So it's funny. I've been thinking about how to get into this. Like the start of the first
Yeah, me
phrase.
too.
But
Just
we
rip
just
the
gonna get
Band-Aid
into it.
off, bro. Just rip the Band-Aid off.
Me too. And then I've been curious all day.
Rip the Band-Aid. Just rip it off.
Yeah, just rip it off.
Just rip it off.
We got to talk about pornography.
All right, cool.
Okay.
That's what we're here to talk about. And
It is.
we've all had experience with this situation and things of
Right.
that nature. And that's what I'm saying, a lot of people don't want to. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't like to say that or shed light on it or bring up the experiences. And I feel like, especially right now, where in a time where everything is okay. Like, everything is okay. Do what you want to do as long as it makes you feel good about yourself or whatever you want to do. And I'm not here to bash anybody about what they do and how they do things, but I am here to talk about some effects of this particular. I think it's an addiction. And that's just from my own personal
I believe it can be.
perspective.
I believe it
Because
can be.
Yeah, it can be for sure.
My view on it and how I've experienced it, unfortunately.
Okay.
Like, I've had an experience where it was an addiction for a long time, where this was something to do or in place of something to where in times where I didn't feel good about myself. And it's funny because I didn't even actually realize that for a long time that there was, I didn't feel good about myself in a lot of scenarios and a lot of situations and things like that. And so my fallback was to look at porn. Like, that was just and even though afterwards, afterwards you're like, it it didn't make me feel good afterwards though either. I actually felt worse, like in the sense of like, because I was like, this did nothing for me, didn't really fix anything, didn't change a thing, nothing has happened, but here we are. And then it was an ongoing cycle. You can jump in whenever you want. I'm just giving y'all my personal experience. It was an ongoing cycle of self-esteem issues that I didn't realize I even had, and I felt like if it was, I could just use this cyber table or whatever you want to call it, like to go ahead and use, like I use this cyber, what's the best word I could use for that, like this cyber outlet, and that would then, like, if I use that, then that would make everything else, or block everything else for a little while.
Right.
It was like my drug.
Right.
If I'm being honest, I never have had an addiction to drugs, to physical drugs, but this was my drug. And I mean, y'all can jump in at any point. I mean, seriously.
He's really excited.
Dom really was.
Dom is itching.
I'm not itching. It's just like, you know what I'm saying. You know, me and you know, half our lives. I know, and you know about me. So yeah.
Care to elaborate?
Care to elaborate? Not in great detail.
Okay,
but not in great detail. But I can say I understand where you come from. Yeah. I would agree that yes, it can be an addiction, because I will say I almost slipped into that type of mentality, that mindset. But I guess it had the opposite effect on me. It made me more confident when I shouldn't have been. You know, it became a blinder more so. Like it covered up everything around me, but it made me feel like, yeah, I'm the man. I can do that. I can do that. Women like this. If I was this shape, you know, if I was buff, if I had my hair cut, if I got a certain type of hat, I wear Timberlands.
Almost this false sense of confidence.
Yeah, and knowing for a fact that ain't got nothing to do with life at all. You know, so it just really covered up. I will say, it covered up insecurities, but it really it's not even positive, but it's more so like it did boost my confidence in a sense, because it made me think better about myself. But in the end, like you said, it didn't really do anything when you remove all of that. So that's just me.
Before we dive too much deeper into the conversation,
I'm scared.
we need
I'm scared.
We need to properly introduce our guest.
You right. You right.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, because I meant to. I literally. I feel terrible because I literally told him that the structure I was gonna go with was, before I got into it, was gonna give him a better introduction. I'm terrible.
No, that's all right. Hey,
So we
bring
just
that back, Turbo. Bring that back,
want to put
Turbo.
this out here. We're gonna blame Mark for this.
You right. Bring that back, Turbo.
I was fully prepared to say, you know, my name's Jason Talley, and I'm not a porn expert. That's not why I'm here. That is not why I'm here. I know
so
if you're
happens he
watching,
showed up on this
that you might believe that's true, but it is not.
They're like, man, he must got some type of degrees or something.
Right.
In this. He's
So
like,
many degrees.
And
So much
pornology.
information is about to be dropped on you. I'm a doctor. We all walking out of here just knowledgeable today.
New emphasis on PhD, huh? I feel you.
Jason, give them a little bit of seriously, a little more introduction to yourself that I poorly did.
Yeah, no. So first of all, it's an honor to be here, right? To be with you guys.
Appreciate it.
Listen to the podcast, and just love everything you're doing. My name's Jason Talley. I originally from Alabama. We talked about this a little bit earlier, and was there until I was 21. Moved to Dallas, Texas. Lived there for 10 years, and now we're here in Detroit for the last 2-3 years. And during my time in Alabama and Dallas, and even up here, I've been involved in a lot of different student ministries. So I've worked with hundreds of high school kids. In fact, one of the kids that I worked with is here with me today. He's now a DJ in Atlanta, and it's just really cool to have so many connections with so many kids. But I did the ministry of Young Life, if you're familiar with that, basically going into schools and building relationships with kids, trying to tell them about Jesus for the first time. And obviously, in those conversations, we do have a lot of, because I work with guys, I'm not going to work one-on-one with girls. So we have these conversations quite a bit. So I've had the opportunity to have those conversations. But so done a lot of ministry stuff, and it's just, I have a lot of life experience, and not, listen, I'll be as real as you want me to be here, and some
candid on here.
you know what, I'm gonna be honest with you. Some folks, and this is jumping back to the subject, not my intro, but some folks be like saying, I used to struggle so bad. I'm like, that used to is just like a thing. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm gonna be real with you. I'm not sitting here saying like, I watch porn all the time, but I'm sitting here saying like, listen, like, I'll be as real as we need to be, because this has affected my life in such a big way, and I think this is one of the reasons why Mark, he and I have known each other for a little while, and we've had some really good conversations, and so I'm not afraid to talk about it, but I do think it's important to really just kind of be real about it, and not beat around the bush with it. So I'm just glad to be here, and it's an honor.
Yeah.
For sure,
man. That's
and keeping it real is the only way on this.
That's
long as it's PG-13.
Well, I mean,
it's kind of not PG-13,
except for this episode.
Right.
Come on, keep it real.
Now, Mark told me an interesting fact about my guestness on this.
He is the. Would you want to do the honor?
See, I feel weird saying it though.
It is kind of weird if you say it.
I'm gonna let you go ahead.
So look, go ahead. You thinking it?
I'm thinking it. You already said it. He is our first Caucasian guest, and not the last. We are.
Listen,
no. But to be completely honest, like I feel like we have.
You can say white, but go ahead.
White. Yeah. I feel like we have every perspective we've ever given. Has always been for black men.
No, seriously.
So I feel like getting other races involved in what we talk about and their perspective on things could change.
Absolutely.
It could definitely have a different perspective on
I just want to say I like how G covered that up, because the phrase itself just threw me off. I'm not gonna lie to you, but you are correct in the statement.
What phrase?
I'm not saying it. What? I'm just not saying it.
Well, let me just say,
You my mans.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
What?
That's like the greatest honor ever, to be honest with you. I called my mom, told her today.
No, y'all don't even understand. Y'all don't even understand. Seriously, I texted Jason, joking with him. Of course, I was like, "Hey man, and you're gonna be the first white guy on the show." He was like, "I need you to say that on there."
So please say that, because I can't be like, "Hey, I heard I was the first white guy." I can't say that. So,
but it's super dope though. That's
no,
like,
I do
because
agree.
for the reasons G just said though, like to have different perspectives.
Yeah, for sure.
We can't. I mean, we could all like make jokes, but we genuinely can't give the white perspective. We can't.
Well, to be honest with you, on this
I mean,
particular,
yeah.
this particular topic, I think it's just the male perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Because I mean, it's all.
we all. I mean, we all.
Yeah,
we all would.
Yeah. So
I read a statistic about porn, which is wild. They say 96% in the world. 90, or it might have just been U.S. America. I don't remember if it was the world or America, but either way, it's still wild. Like it was 96% of men have watched porn at the very least once, of course. But then there was like a 70 percentile still watches it regularly. These weren't just like young boys.
Man, what I'm on that 4%? I don't know what you're talking about.
And they said,
I think that's a lot. I think it's higher than that.
No, I agree.
96?
I agree. I think it's more than that.
that 4% don't have access. That's all.
I mean,
and that's
I'm in that
real.
4. I'm in that 4.
That's real.
Yeah,
under
that's
no
a lot, 'cause
circumstance,
you still end up
can I
coming out.
actually believe that there are men out there who never even looked? I mean, there might be a couple.
Unless there's no access.
Because you can never say
There-
because
there-
there might
there-
be some.
You can see
They're
everywhere.
Buddhists
4% is a lot.
living
It's a lot of
in a
people.
mountain with no internet connection.
It could be. But that's a lot
He's right. There are monks.
All right.
Right, but 4% of the United States
So
ain't
back
monks,
to the topic,
Yeah.
not the monks. It's silly, but no, like it's got a grip on like everybody in general, but men specifically.
For sure.
Like it is a thing that like we, and so there's another thing that I read, where it said like a lot between. I don't remember the percentage, but the point is, it was a higher amount where it was like a lot are being introduced at 10 or younger.
But I feel like that's the conversation is how it starts.
All right, look, man.
And I feel like this goes back to something that we've talked about before, and it's kind of the society that of a man, like what man is supposed to do in society, and the pressures that we have. I think when you're growing up, we hear about sex a lot growing up.
What?
And about how the first time is gonna be like this, gonna be like that. You're not gonna be able to do this, you're not gonna be able to do that.
I ain't never heard that.
And I'm telling you, between that and like peer pressure when you go into school, because as you said, 96%. So more than likely, all your friends have watched it.
Yeah.
And more likely talk about it.
Yeah.
Curiosity kills the cat. And at a young age, you're going through puberty.
Shut up, Dom.
Yeah, honestly though, you're going through.
Dirty.
Yeah, of course. But you're going through. You're going through puberty.
Yeah.
And you're at an age where you're very impressionable.
Yeah.
Malleable.
So honestly, at that stage in your life, unless you're not around it and there's no connection to it and don't hear it, don't see it, then I don't see you not starting, like you looking at it or something. So that's why it's tough for guys.
And it's so accessible.
Coming up. Exactly.
It's literally.
I mean, and now smartphones. Anyway,
it's so hard for.
It was harder back in the day. Now
it's difficult for parents at this point or anybody to be able to, like, at least it was somewhat difficult when we were growing up. I know a lot of it was like 4 of us are in our 30s.
I'm getting there,
but we're like I'm just saying, we're like in the space where, like, growing up, it was definitely less accessible.
You had to work hard.
You had to work hard for it.
Yeah.
Like, this was back when I'm to a degree.
I mean, unless you got somebody you got a plug or something, you had to work hard.
Yeah,
you had to sneak it.
You had to work decently hard when I was growing up. Smartphone still wasn't a thing.
I'm just saying, it's not
still
nearly.
You had to go on
Okay, the point is, it's not nearly as accessible as it is.
I agree.
I'm not saying, look, if you wanted to find it, you could find it. That's not a question.
Phones now.
Yeah, because unfortunately, like I said, I was introduced at that young tender age of like 11 or 10 or 11 because I was at one of my cousins' place.
Tender age?
And so
everyone has that cousin.
It wasn't my cousin's father. That's the wild thing. No, it was his father who.
But everybody has that cousin.
Had and this is not me trying to put him out like that, but this is just the truth. Whatever. I'm not putting any names or anything, but he had a whole
collection
drawer. Like, you know what goes in?
Collection.
He had 2 drawers. A full collection.
VHS or
of
DVD?
Museum.
VHS.
It was VHS?
Yes.
Okay.
We that old.
We
that old. VHS is that's what was happening. But it was literally a full thing. And so I would stay with my cousin. Like, we would go over his dad's house every now and again. So, like, this was a cousin who didn't see his dad a lot. Like, you know, it would be like every other couple weeks or something like that. And so I would go over there with him, and we would just hang out and play video games and stuff. But then when he was gone, he used to work a lot. So we do what young boys do. We snoop around and look around and see, what can we get into? Of course, lo and behold, we find this. So, of course, what do? Curious kids going through. We were barely even in puberty yet. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, we weren't even. So you really have no idea what's going on. You have no idea what you're watching.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Curious to see what's going on. And at that point, my mind had already been tainted with it. Like, I'm now looking and seeing that and like, oh well, this is let's do this. And the crazy thing is, as a kid, the kid don't know this is fantasy. Kid doesn't understand. And now going
you're not
into
watching
the mind,
it for that reason at that age.
And the worst part is, now that you've already watched it and you're curious about it, now when you become of that age, now you're watching it because it was just normal to watch it originally. You had already been watching it, and now you get into a state of mind where it's like, well, this is pretty regular, and you know, it makes me feel good. That's where you start to figure out that part of it.
It's part of
like,
puberty,
well, this feels okay. This feels great.
I want to jump in right there.
Go ahead, please.
Because I was doing my little 5-minute research. Because I wanted to understand where we get addiction from, right? You know, this being an addiction for a lot of men.
Yeah.
Philosopher Chuck on the way, y'all.
Oh God. So there's a part of the brain called the amygdala. I think I pronounced that right. That controls emotions and. Huh?
No, go ahead.
Okay, that controls emotions, feelings, and all that jazz, right?
Correct.
So, with the amygdala, I'm gonna learn how to say it one day.
Okay.
We kind of gather this correlation to certain points in our life and whether they make us feel good or bad, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a storage of that emotional memory or whatever.
Right.
And with that, for pornography, right, it's a stimulation that we feel in our body that, you know, we feel good about. And so we store it in there and we go back to it and say, all right, these are the cues that I get that's going to trigger that for me.
Right.
Right? So if I see it once and then I go out in the world and I see a woman's cleavage, I see a woman's behind, I see a woman's figure, you know, a face, skin, whatever, right? These are now cues that are going to trigger us to want that feeling again. So at this point, it's a physical thing.
Yeah.
It's no longer just, oh, I just like it.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's more of a I would almost call it a mental illness, because it's something that can't be overcome with just, all right, let me just stop watching it. I can't just cold turkey it because I'm gonna see things that are gonna make me go back to it in the world. And today, it's hard to miss those cues.
Yeah.
You
Man.
have to
And that's-
practically walk around with your eyes
That
closed.
goes into almost what Jason said about people always be like, "Oh, it was a struggle for me back then." It's a struggle for me right now
Proud
today.
for you.
I'm just
He said proud for
but
you.
seriously, that's
But
Good job for
so,
you.
know what's really interesting is you just touched on some things that there's two books that come to mind. One's called The Atomic Habit, and the other's called The Power of Habit. And both of them talk about the same thing, how you have cues and responses, and that's why we do what we do. So if you want to build a habit or you want to break a habit, you just got to change the cues and change and the responses will change. And so if we're talking about this, from a Christian perspective, then the Lord helps us change those cues, because we don't see that stuff no more.
Right.
It's like we put blinders on. The Holy Spirit helps us with that. But the truth of the matter is, it's a chemical thing.
Talk to him.
You have dopamine that is released every single time that you see porn, and not only see porn, but when you masturbate, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And so your dopamine, you can get it whenever you want. And the truth of the matter is, we're supposed to fight hard for dopamine in our bodies and our brains. Because if you go all the way back to when we used to be hunters and gatherers, when we wanted a really good meal, we had to go out and get it.
Yeah.
And when we wanted
absolutely.
sex, we had to really go out and get it. Like, you had to work hard for it.
Yeah.
And now we can leave here and go to Texas Roadhouse, which I'm totally fine with. By the way. We can leave here and go to.
They got good roads.
Yeah.
They got good roads.
Yeah. We
Roadhouse
can
is
leave
lit.
here and go to Texas Roadhouse and have an amazing meal that, by the way, is going to release dopamine.
Yeah.
And then, which is the reason why we just got so excited. And then, because it's those things, because it brings those things to memory. So in today's world, we not only just talk about porn, right? But there's so many things that release dopamine. When you post a picture and somebody likes it,
Yeah.
that's dopamine. You're getting this pleasure, this gratification that normally you would have to really work hard for.
Yeah.
And so with porn, from what I understand in my experience, like, bro, it's a dopamine situation where we have to literally, if we cut that thing off, the pipeline to pornography, then we somehow have the ability to back up, and everything in life becomes a little bit sweeter than it was before because we don't have that immediate access. I was actually chatting with Sid about this on the way here. Have you guys heard or know about this thing called NoFap? You ever heard of this?
No.
Called what?
NoFap.
No fat.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna drop.
You've heard of it?
Yeah.
So this is actually a non-Christian thing.
Yeah.
But this is something that I ran across about a little over a year ago on YouTube. And basically, it's these guys that say we're not gonna watch pornography, we're not gonna masturbate because we're going to get these benefits from it.
Yeah.
And it's because it's basically dopamine
Yeah.
deprivation. So you're cutting yourself off from dopamine, and then all of a sudden you have all these other benefits that come from this. And I'm not necessarily saying that that's 100% true, and we're not going to get off into all that. But the point of me bringing that up is I genuinely, right at that moment, tried that. And because about a year and a half ago, I was engaged to be married. I'm not. That's not a plug. That's just letting you know. I mean, unless you know.
Unless you is watching.
I mean, you can slide in. I won't be mad.
My man.
I won't be mad. You can slide in.
You want to know his IG?
At J Talley, you know. But
Hit up his DM.
but now I'm probably about to change your mind. So I was engaged, and I was, to be completely honest with you, totally addicted to pornography all during that time, and with her, and she, you know, found out about that. That actually led to me doing other things that I shouldn't have done in that relationship, and because of that, it ends up getting to this place where I'm A, by myself again. B, I feel like something that God had for me that was probably beautiful was taken, not by Him but by me and my actions.
Yeah.
And then here I am still like addicted to this. So for me personally, it became like a thing where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna stop, and I did for like a really, really long time. And you know, since then, to be completely honest with you, it's been here and there, and it's because there are things that you can do. You can get covenant eyes on your phone and your computer and your iPad or whatever. You can do all these things. You can seek God. You can pray. You can fast. You can have accountability. You can do this and do this and do this. But sometimes there are moments where like it just comes in like a flood.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't happen for you, then please email me, like reach out to me and help me,
Man.
because the real thing is that I'm like, bro, I want so badly to please God, and I want to be the man that God's called me to be, but at the same time, it's like I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, and the enemy comes in and my flesh fights against me. Do you know that's so interesting that the Bible talks about flee youthful lust? It's the only time we're not supposed to fight. So it's like we try to fight the enemy, we try to fight the devil, we try to fight against all this stuff. It's like, I'm gonna do this. It's like, no, like get out of there, like get every single bit of that stuff away. And so I don't know, man, it just, for me, it's like it comes down to a chemical thing. Like, okay, this is dopamine deprivation. I'm not gonna just be okay with like flipping a switch and flooding my brain with these chemicals that bring me pleasure. Like, we're gonna step back and we're gonna go, okay, I want to be a man that God's called me to be. I want to be strong. I want to be integrous. I want to be, everything that God's called me to be. And the only way I can be that way is by recognizing that A, this is a problem, this is a weakness, and I gotta combat it from both angles. I gotta pray and seek God and fast, but I gotta flee. And the way I'm gonna do that is by making sure I have systems in place, and I have all these kind of deals that I can make sure that I'm good. And I'm obviously still, like I said, speaking from a single perspective.
Yeah.
Because when you're talking about, you know, from a single perspective, we're talking about like, I'm just gonna be real, okay? If we're talking from a single perspective, are we talking about like porn being an issue because of masturbation? Are we saying that like sex is bad while you're single? Because this comes to a whole nother question. Because for married folks, and no, I know there's plenty of married folks that struggle with pornography.
And that's it's funny you brought that up, because I was thinking to myself, like, I've been married for what, almost 7 years now?
Something like that.
Thank you.
His comments are funny.
Yeah, he ain't corner, bro.
He always,
That's what that is.
almost 7 years,
on it.
and I'm gonna tell you right now, the urge don't go away just because you married. It don't just be like, oh, you know what, no porn, no, we're good.
Yeah.
Just because I have someone to have sex with, like, on a regular basis. That's regular basis.
As the hood would call it, in-house.
So,
And that's important to say.
no, and I'm just being genuine. Like,
100%.
this is something that, like I said, this is something I've been dealing with all my life.
That's what people believe.
They believe that because you married,
Especially a lot of young people believe that not even porn, just like sex in general.
Yeah.
They feel like, okay, so once I get married,
I can have it all the time.
and then I won't need it no more. Like I won't seek nobody else.
It don't
for
work that
it.
way.
Yep. I won't be.
Because you still have attractions, right? You know,
Hey, go
whether
back in the
you married or
catalog.
not.
Women and men cheat
Right,
every
that's the
day.
thing.
Go back in the
So
catalog.
that-
I could
if that
talk
was
about
if
that.
that was the case, that wouldn't happen.
Right.
So just
and the important thing to take away from that is, you know, being able to go to God and say, hey, listen, I need to kill this flesh. I need to be able to take these attractions and see them in a different light.
Right.
You know, yes, okay, she looks nice. She has, you know, a nice figure. Okay, that's fine. But I love my wife.
Yeah.
And she's important to me.
That's right.
And
That's a key one right there.
Right.
Is like telling yourself like she's important to me.
Yeah, and now like I have a child now, so
Yeah.
I not only have my wife, I have my son to be a good example to. And so when you have those moments and you're out in public and you're, you know, by yourself and you get those cues that drive you to that direction, you, like you said, you have to be able to replace them with something else that allows you to say, all right, I'm good. Right.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's, you know, my wife. What consequences is this action going to have on my relationship with my wife? What kind of example am I going to set for my son?
Yeah.
What kind of spirit do I leave as a generational curse for my son and any other children that I might have?
Yeah.
So in my mind, I want to kill these things right away.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm thinking that, you know, I grew up without a father. I don't know the things that he left for me. And as I go throughout my life, I discover these different issues that I come up with, that I have to constantly battle with.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where did they come from? And so for me, I'm like, all right, I have to kill them now, or my son's going to have to deal with them, and then he's going to have to figure out how to do it. So these
That's
are the kind of things for me that help me battle those fleshly desires.
Yeah, because it's like you don't want your kid to have to go through these certain things. And he's going to have his battles too, but you don't want to. You want to kind of avoid certain battles he may not have to. You know, if he sees you in a certain light, but then also, you know, he can see these certain things that it may, you know, help him with any battles he goes through. You know, and I think that's a good thing to talk about. Like I really want to discuss like I know you mentioned about how it really, you know, lack of a better word, not trying to be insensitive, but ruined your relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, and like, it's ruined a lot of relationships. Or even if the relationship didn't break apart, there may have been a reckoning within the relationship. I know, me personally, so I dealt with like situations where it altered my view on what a woman should be like or how she should be, and so it altered that thought process of what I was looking for and what I expected. And then when those things didn't align, it was no way for us to align, and I thank God for helping me to be able to, you know, get that perspective, at least, you know, to where like I was able to get with my wife and things like that, and had those alleviate those expectations. But again, like I said, those urges still didn't disappear. Like, I think anybody struggling with, as I called it, an addiction, continues to struggle with those addictions for maybe forever.
Yeah, I mean, it is an addiction.
It's
100% an addiction.
Yeah.
Like, just because again, that dopamine stuff.
Yeah.
Because when you take, you know, these people who are drug addicts, like that same stuff just overloads, and that's the reason why, you know, when you get folks that are addicted to drugs, you know, they do a little bit, then they got to do more and more and more and more and more. Well, porn's the same way.
Yes.
You know, you start off and you see like a girl in a bra, and you're like, dang.
Yep.
And then next week that ain't gonna do it for you.
Yeah, no.
You know, and the week after that, whatever it was that did it for you ain't gonna do it for you.
Because
it's more and more and more and more and more.
It's crazy you said that, because that's almost like the progression of when I was like a kid. So like when we started off, like I said, everything wasn't as accessible.
It was
Like
just
my brother used to have.
and
Yeah,
the
we
music
used to have
videos,
He said like Playboy.
I'm about to say MTV.
Hiding at
Never
home,
mind.
right?
Oh, man.
Little Playboy magazines.
My brother had
hiding
a
at home.
stack of magazines. That was stack of magazines.
And so he would have and so I would, my little kid self would go look at that, and after a while you're like, oh, this is cool. It's on paper. It was great for a moment.
I want to see it
Then
live.
it just progressed, and it was like, oh well, need a little bit more and a little bit more, and then that starts to become your reality.
Yep.
Especially when now it's every day, and now it's need more, and it opens up a door of perversion that I don't think people really understand. Like it just leads to more. You know how people always say like marijuana is the gateway drug. This is a gateway. Like there's certain things about porn, and I think a lot of people don't understand how much of a gateway it is to so many different things in your mental. Like it's more than just. And again, I think the things we've already discussed have been difficult things that we should you want to overcome and things of that nature. But it leads to so many other things. Like the people that are like the people who have like little children and things of that nature, that started somewhere. It grew from something. That like there is something that grew, and these things grow over time when you allow them to. When you continue to open that door and you continue to do those things, like I think that opens it up. But like I said, when it comes to like relationship things, like has it affected any of y'all like in like any relationship situations?
Me personally,
Dom be looking like he be wanting to say
me
stuff.
personally, I've been pretty much my entire adult 20s I've
You
been
have?
in one relationship.
That's true.
No for me.
Yeah.
But it's never nothing I struggle with per se. Never say I never did it. Obviously, I think everyone's done it. That's why I said I don't.
No, bro, I never did it.
Anywho, but I see how it can, especially depending on your partner, depending on what kind of partner you have. I think. Look, if some of y'all got relationships where this is a normal regular thing, hey, different strokes for different folks. Y'all continue doing your thing. We are not talking to y'all, but for everybody else,
perfect people.
Yeah, I mean, hey, But anywho, all the other
like
people,
Jason said, give me your email.
Yeah. You got people who this is okay for both. So but we're talking about everybody else, and my thing is. When it comes to relationships, if this is something that you struggle with, this is something you need to be upfront with early. Mm-hmm. Because if this is something that they find out later, it goes back to a conversation we had earlier in the podcast when we were talking about we were talking about us having friends that are girls, and what that would do to a girl's mental if they figure out later on, better than early, that you had a female friend. The thoughts that go through their head are different, and what they think what was happening, what you were doing. So I think the effects on relationship are depending completely around communication about that struggle,
that information.
And I think that goes with any struggle that you may have, whether it's smoking, drinking, porn, whatever it is.
Well, see, I think a big issue is that a lot of people don't acknowledge that they're struggling with.
And that goes to lack of communication. Because a lot of people either one don't know they have it, or two they try, or they try to keep it to themselves.
So when you think about it, because it's such a blight on society, right? We've been taught to hey, if this is something you do behind closed door, you don't really want it to get out to light because people are going to look at you
right.
It's a different view, right? So you don't want that. So it's an embarrassment to let people know, hey, I have this issue, I have this addiction, and so a lot of men will keep that in because they just don't want people to know, not because I don't want to stop. Some of them they might have a desire to stop and really want it, but are afraid to allow it to get out.
But I think with this one, it's kind of weird because I don't even think it's. I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it's like you're embarrassed with this one because I feel like guys talk about it.
Definitely think you're wrong
because I think a lot of guys, it's almost like I personally would feel like people wouldn't take it seriously like this is a serious thing. Because guys, I mean, outside of church especially, this is a common thing. I mean, this is, you know, and we can talk about this but if you tell someone this is something you're struggling with, they'll be like, why? Like, just do it. Like, they wouldn't fully grasp the full context of what you're saying. It says, unlike maybe like a drug addiction of you know, some of you probably keep to yourself because obviously, you know, that's what that is. But I think there's the conversation around this isn't as negative as it should be. So I think you going out and selling people, you know, they're not going to look at it like that, and no one's going to understand the point.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from with it.
Sure.
Yeah, you know what? I think there's two classes of people here.
Yeah.
You have people who were raised as Christians and have been kind of in a Christian environment, knowing that this is something that's a bit shameful or wrong. And then for them, you know, saying this is something that I struggle with, because and the reason why that's an issue is because it hasn't been a conversation inside the church. And because it's not a conversation inside the church, it appears to be something that only they are struggling with.
I have a point about that.
So because of that, you have this class of people over here who are like, no, you know, it's not. I'm embarrassed to tell you this because I'm the only person that deals with it. Then there's this other class of people, which are these guys that are not in church, where it's openly accessible. You know, you can just go look at their Twitter and know that they don't have a problem with this. And you know, and it becomes a thing where, well, this is acceptable socially, so this is what I'm doing. And earlier, just talking about drugs and stuff, it's like, what would it be like? And I'm not talking about like marijuana being legalized in Michigan and all that stuff, but what would it be like if like a hardcore drug was legalized and everybody took it, but then the church was like, no, we're not going to do that, but then there's still people in the church that do, but then it's like, oh man, I really wish I didn't have to. That's exactly what this is.
Yeah. It's like if heroin was
after Europe went over to what was that? Is either Japan or I think it was Japan when they invaded Japan, and they brought back all the opioids, and so you had all these opium dens all around Europe, and you know, you got the Catholic Church there, right? And you know, so you're just supposed to do these certain things, or just not good for, you know, the church. And so you have these men that are in these opium dens, but then, you know, you find them in the church sometimes, and you're not trying to tell everybody, hey, I frequent this opium den, you know, and I, you know, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, but then Friday and Saturday I got cleaned up so I can get in church on Sunday, and you won't know. So I mean, I feel like it's kind of the same thing where we constantly deal with these things day in and day out, but then we come to church, like you said, it's something that was constantly condemned, and ministers will preach on it. They'll say, "Hey, you're not supposed to be, you know, dealing with pornography," or
when
they'll
they was
say,
at home,
"Come in and receive prayer if this is an issue."
Yeah, I mean,
no one comes up. Right? It's like, oh, no, I'm not gonna come up there so the whole congregation can say that I need
like
prayer.
it's not realistic. It's not because it's not realistic.
I read a statistic about that too, about how a ton of church leaders. There are tons of church. I think it was like 65%, and it probably is more, but it was something like they had 65% church leaders are watching porn regularly.
Watch this. The stat you gave that said 96%. Did it say excluding anything?
Nope.
Okay, so
did not.
That's a lot of church members.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You know, I won't go on a limb and say most of them. I mean, 96% is
that's a large percentage.
So that's the issue that I have.
Pretty sure the church
that's almost
more than 4%.
That's almost another conversation, because then that's almost talking about culture in church in general, and then that's why this conversation when it comes to church is a difficult one.
Well, that's why people struggle with trusting the church though and things. I know that's a little off topic, but it's really still on topic. That's why people struggle with trusting the church, is because we do a lot of condemning, but we don't do a lot of teaching and relating and sharing relatable information. Like, and saying, hey, I struggle with this too. Not things like that. I struggle with this right now. That's where and people don't share those type of things. And it's like, I wish I read something. That's what I wanted to say. You brought up about how in all those extra lights came on. You brought up how church doesn't. It's not too many people teaching about it and things like that. I read something where it said like I've been reading these statistics. Y'all know I like doing research, but
Yeah, we know.
It said something like 7% of churches have something going on where they're teaching about dealing with pornography or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, well, how can
That's
you
a
condemn
very
somebody
small
and you're not
number,
teaching them
seeing
about?
as that we have so many churches
Yeah,
in the country.
We go to Detroit right
Just
now.
in the
It's a
city,
church
bro.
on
Just in
every
the city,
corner.
Detroit.
It's a church on
But
every
let's
corner.
be real. We know they've picked out certain sins that they want to, and if they picked out certain ones where they stay away from. That's just, unfortunately, that's just the truth. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's.
Well, it's probably because the person who's teaching is dealing with it.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
I ain't trying to throw no shade on nobody, okay? But there's been plenty of times in my life. Okay, I used to do music at a church. I was 20.
Yeah.
And so I'd get up, play the piano, and I led the choir and stuff.
Yeah.
And didn't know what I was doing, but God help me, because thank God for repentance, thank God for His mercy and grace. But there were Saturday nights where I would watch pornography, and then Sunday morning get up and lead worship. And back then, we ain't talking about
Yeah,
it.
you ain't saying a word
I'm
about
not talking about it because that would quote unquote disqualify me from being able to serve God in the way that I felt like He was calling me to do that.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest problem is where do we go where we say I'm broken and I need healing, but I know that God still wants to use me right now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, okay, what do we do about that? Because I'm not saying that you can do whatever you want and serve in a leadership capacity, but what I am saying is like there's got to be somewhere in our churches where we say, you know what, we're going to love you and give you mercy and grace through this.
We'll love you through it.
So that we can all be. And the way we do that is by recognizing, hey, you know what? We're all in this together. Like I struggled with this, you struggled with this.
Yes.
And not only guys struggle with this. And so it's like,
That's true.
if we don't realize that this is a problem and that we need to fix it, then what's going to happen is our men and women are going to be broken, our families are going to be broken, our kids are going to be broken, and then the world just ends up getting more broken. And the whole time Jesus called us to heal it and to fix it. And it's like, dude, what are we going to do? So yeah, it's all about that.
I blame it on comparison.
Huh?
I blame it on comparison. In the church, right? We're constantly comparing ourselves to our neighbor, saying, hey, I sin this way, but you sin that way. And because you sin openly and I sin in private.
I was about to say, don't let it be
I'm
an
a little
open
better
sin.
But we have a tier.
than what you do, right?
No, you're right. There are tiers.
But
There is
that's
tiers.
what I was trying to get at earlier.
If you murder somebody,
and
you up here.
in church, we have created a tier of what is acceptable sins, moderate, and we all do it sins down here. So we all do it.
And that's real.
Everybody do this one, so we just gonna brush it off to the side.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the church loses credibility because we have to be upfront about all of it. And the thing is, it's not about hate, and we have to really love people through these problems because everyone's going through most of this stuff. Like everyone struggles with something, and a lot of this stuff is universal. Like it's a universal thing from the pulpit to the door. Like so, we're all in all this stuff together. So that's why even when like last year and the year before when the whole LGBTQ stuff started coming out and they was talking about the churches and stuff because they were harping on it so much. It's because it's like, okay, well, let's ignore everything else. And it was real hard pressed. Okay, the thing is, we have to love people through all of it, like the entire thing. We can't pick and choose which one we think is worse than the other. Like, no, well, this is bad, well, this is all right. And, I think that kind of hurts this conversation that we're having now. And this is why this isn't more of an open topic.
Yeah.
I think it should be something that we practice. Even if it were as much as establishing some sort of group. I imagine there are groups out there
for sure
that come together to have these discussions. Amongst people who are at that point where they can come forward and say, hey, this is an issue, right? And so, kind of like an AA group or something like that.
Celebrate Recovery is somebody that does that. I was actually a part of a group in Dallas called Regeneration. That's a bunch of men sitting in a circle, saying, one guy's like, I struggle with getting angry at my wife, and I'm over here like, I struggle with pornography. So it's like everybody's that's a thing. That's a beautiful thing.
I think that's needed. That's genuinely
I think absolutely is needed, and I think it's important that it's in the church too.
Yeah,
because if we can establish those types of groups in the church, and make it a welcomed group, in the church, and an open group, and say, hey, listen, along with our announcements, we want to promote these groups because we know that there are people not only in the church but outside of the church that struggle with this. And we're here to help you. We're here to love you through this. We're here to, hopefully guide you over this, and help you beyond it.
What's actually really beautiful about those kind of programs is they become outreach. The church that I went to that had this program was not my church. The program was on like a Tuesday night. And going to that was just so great. And I think the reason why it was so big for me was because it wasn't at my church. Because no shade on my church in Dallas, but I was like, bro, if I were to sit in a circle with people that I go to church with that have known me for 10 years and tell them this, and they know that I was a youth pastor and that I did this and I did that, and the whole time you were struggling with it, then you're not real, you're not genuine, you're fake, you're this, you're that. But you go into a room of anonymity and you're sitting in a circle with a bunch of dudes you don't know, you can say pretty much whatever you want because no one knows you. And so it's like, is there a place in our local church where the church you go to, because I've actually thought about this, because I'm like, I've been to church here in Detroit, other churches, it's like, is there a place where we can go to somewhere in our local church where we don't feel like we're going to be talked about? Like, I can say this, but man, Brother Sam is here, and I know that his wife likes to talk to so-and-so, and if he tells her that she's going to tell her, and that's going to get back to so-and-so, and it becomes this whole thing, like, so it's a whole nother topic for another day, but it's like, we shouldn't be talking about each other.
No, seriously, and I think that's key, man. We just really have to. I love what G said. We gotta love through everything. Like, we have to love through everything. We always, and that's the thing. For whatever reason, we feel like if we disagree, then we have to like back off our love. That's the complete opposite. Actually, if you disagree, you probably should want to learn, have more information, and try to figure out more. And in order to do that, you have to share love. You have to continue to understand said person, different things of that nature. And that's how you share love, is by being able to learn that side of things. And I'm not saying you have to be in agreement with whatever it is, but in order to actually affect somebody, I think you genuinely have to learn.
I mean, they have to like you. I mean, they don't like or respect you. I mean,
definitely have to have some respect.
Yeah, I mean, if you come at somebody with disrespect, I mean, just keeping it blunt, you come at somebody with disrespect right off the bat,
and just saying
anything you say after that is disregarded. So that's just plain and simple. So going just attacking it from that front. That's why we're supposed to be. The Bible teaches about love all the time, because that's it. That's what it is. And we've gotten so far away from that. I mean, I think we've put a lot of our own feelings into a lot of it instead of what
we lean in on that part of the brain that what's the word, amygdala.
That's really,
I don't know what you was getting.
I really don't think that's how it's pronounced, but we're just gonna let you keep saying it though.
Sure.
I'm gonna learn it. I'm gonna ask Google how to pronounce it later on.
I think I know how to pronounce it, but I'm not going to embarrass myself on the podcast. I'm just going to leave it up to you.
Amygdala. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's right.
For sure. We'll go with that. So, like, we just trying to start something here where we're doing something different, sharing, talking about these different things, and being candid about different things that we deal with, we struggle with, we're going through, and to
go to therapy.
Therapy is big.
We've talked about it before, man.
I think a lot of people, and that goes what you said, sometimes most people don't want to talk to somebody they've known for a while, to tell them all the issues. That's what professional therapists are for. If you go to a professional therapist, that doesn't mean that you're crazy or mentally unstable or anything of that nature. We all should probably see a therapist. It's trauma. There's different things that have gone on in our lives. You know.
I mean, listen. You were talking about this earlier. I've been to the altar, Lord, how many times? Mm-hmm. Prayed, saw God, wept, repented. Repented. You know, like I
had to say it one more time.
right. You know, like it's like, you know, I've done that, and this is, God help me, this is not me saying that don't work, but this is saying that by itself does not solve the problem, because fleeing youthful lust is only the spiritual side. We gotta address this physical side, and going to groups, having some guys that you are in community with, you know, all that kind of stuff is so key, and having a place that, you know, you can talk about these things openly and try to figure out how you can process that stuff is so important.
And even the Bible talks about faith without works is dead. Mm-hmm. You got to have that. You can have that faith that everything's going to get better, and going, like you said, keep praying to God, keep repenting, keep doing these things. But you actually got to put some work in too. The work could be
with the people he put down here to help you.
The work could be the community that you are around. The work could be going to a therapist. The work could be those different things, and that's okay.
Or a combination of everything.
Everything. That's what people always think, that like we're like, God is just going to take this and snatch it away from me. He can, sure, if he wants to. That's fine. More than likely, he's going to give you other avenues to be able to. He's going to say, you're going to be like, well, and like you said, keep going back, and you're like, how many times am I going to deal with this? And he's like, well, I gave you a person right there to, you know, deal with it. Or, you know, you see this sign every time you go to work. It says you call this person, right here, or like, hey, I'm giving you different ways to get around this and figure this out and get through this. So like, we also have to remember those things. Like you said, it's a combination of everything. Combination of those things together, because he's laying it out for us to have different opportunities to be able to overcome these things that we deal with and struggle with daily. And porn is a big one for the majority of all of us.
I agree with Dom. With George and making that statement that it's not something that we place enough importance on, right? As far as something that we need to be able to deal with. Yeah. You know, we look at these, you know, what we call bigger issues, you know, and leave everything else to, you know, people to figure out on their own.
Yep. Yeah. That's very true.
100%.
That's very true. If y'all need if y'all don't know me and y'all need somebody to talk to, y'all can hit me up. Like, I'll just listen. I'll just sit there. I'm not a professional, but you know, sometimes
we know professional.
We know professionals.
Sometimes you need. We do.
And he will be back.
That is, we genuinely do know a professional.
Actually, we might even have him on the. We had him on the episode before.
Yeah, but we might have him on. We definitely going to have him back.
Yeah,
we talk about Devin. Anybody wants to know?
Anyone, all of our OGs, you know, if you listen to us when we was just audio, but we definitely had that episode.
Right, before you can see these faces.
You know, before we, you know, stepped up in the game a little bit.
But yeah, we definitely want to talk about that, because we definitely want to get back into mental health awareness, things like that. That's definitely things that we need to discuss. But for now, we got to sign off. But first, I just want to say thank you, Jason, for coming in and just chatting it up with us, man, and just discussing with us. We definitely needed that perspective that you had, and so we definitely appreciate you coming through.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me.
Hey, shout out your name, IG, everything right now.
You want to shout out something that you
working on? He don't got no ring finger, you know.
Hey. No, actually, I ain't working on this right now. I just started a YouTube channel. J.A. Talley on YouTube. And I have a couple podcasts on Apple and Spotify.
Awesome podcast.
Yeah, the Daily Devo podcast on there, and then the Tally Marks Faith and Leadership podcast. So you can check that out.
Nice.
Super. And we'll make sure we stick all that down in the either in the, depending on what you're watching, on in the comment section or above in the
the other section.
The other section.
We
on so many different platforms.
It's funny. He's like a neat.
Whatever section
you gon' see it. That's all that matters. You gon' see it.
Whether you're listening to it underneath, Facebook, up top, whatever.
So as always, we appreciate you. From Boys to Men, we're signing off.
1.